Hello and welcome to Tech TV, brought to you by London Tech Week and Techcelerate. I'm really pleased to have with us today David Doan, OBE, Chief Executive of RHP, who's here today to discuss digital transformation, the future of work, and also what role technology plays at RHP, both today and in the future. Thanks for joining me and the London Tech Week community online today, David.
Yeah, it's a pleasure.
Thank you. So should we start off by you telling us a little bit about yourself and kind of your career journey into both tech and housing?
Yeah, sure. Well, I've worked in housing now for almost 30 years, but actually I started my career working in the voluntary sector, working for some homelessness charities, and then worked for 6 local authorities in a short space of time, and then had the wonderful opportunities to set up RHP back in 2000. So we've been going now for about 21 years.
Yeah.
And the thing that's really driven our passion at RHP is 2 things. One is to be a really great service provider, and secondly, to be an inspiring place to work. And those 2 things really have sort of moulded what we've done ever since. And at the heart of our vision really is about trying to make it as easy and convenient as possible for our customers to use our services. And that fundamentally, for me, is about using technology and digital transformation.
Great. No, that's really interesting. And obviously, COVID-19 has been the digital accelerator of the decade. And a recent stat said that 96% of enterprise decision makers are saying that the UK pandemic has sped up digital transformation at their company and their plans. So do you agree the pandemic has had this similar impact on RHP? And also, what does the technological future look like at RHP?
Yeah, completely agree with the point about the pandemic accelerating change, because leaving aside the terrible human tragedy of COVID, in terms of change, it is and has been incredibly helpful, because what the pandemic is making everybody do, including us at RHP, is rethink everything. And for us, what we've realised is that if we'd experienced the pandemic a couple of years ago, although we'd have coped, we'd have struggled. But as it happens, because of the fact it happened this year, and the work we've put into trying to create RHP to be a really flexible organisation, both for our customers and for our employees, that's really, really helped us cope with the challenges. So, for example, we've put a huge amount of effort and work into creating a very flexible way of working for our employees. So when it came to closing the office back in March and moving to home working, that wasn't really a big shock for us, because we'd got all the technology and equipment in place already, and most importantly, the culture of the organisation could support that way of working. And I think what we've seen is how great good technology is in these situations. It's really enabled us to stay in touch, and most importantly, stay connected. So, a small but important example of that is that, we'd already rolled out Microsoft Teams and have been using it for some time. So moving to things like online meetings at all levels, including board meetings, went pretty smoothly. We've been using Power BI systems for a while as well. So again, what that's enabled us to do is produce every day a summary of the key stats about our service and our business, and to circulate those across the organisation so we can check on things like customer satisfaction rates for a whole range of services and view what's happening in different parts of the business. And these reports have been incredibly helpful in terms of making decisions in the moment. And I think finally, without stating the obvious, I guess, really, is that the technology's really helped us to stay in touch with everybody, which I guess in terms of learning is the biggest learning for us, because what we've realised is that if people are working remotely, you've got to put loads of energy and effort into more and more communication, to really try to find ways of engaging people. And technology has been brilliant, because It's enabled me, for example, to do a daily blog on Yammer, which is our in-house social media platform. I host a weekly live TV broadcast for the whole organisation and invite special guests onto it. We're trying to hold lots of online social events every week, and we're providing regular e-briefings for my board. So lots and lots of electronic forms of communication, all facilitated by new technology, really. And I think in many ways, we've just scratched the surface of what's possible. What it's really done is opened our eyes to the potential of technology for doing great things in organisations like RHP.
Some really great examples there. It sounds like RHP has really embraced this new future of work. Sounds fantastic. Would you say there's been any specific technological innovations at RHP that you're particularly proud of that you want to share with us today?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we sort of live and breathe this, really. It's quite hard to pick out a few examples, but I guess I'd highlight three, really, because for me, a really important moment was back in 2016 when we introduced what we believe was the first ever, fully online housing service in the UK. We call the service RHPI, but at the heart of RHPI really is the idea that majority of our customers, for most day-to-day things, want to access our services online. So, for example, paying your rent or ordering a repair or booking a gas service. We believe that most of our customers actually don't want to phone us, but actually simply want to go online and do those things at their convenience, at any time of the day. And what's been really magic about that is that really good things have come about as a result of that change. So we've seen levels of satisfaction go up and our operating costs go down. So very, very crudely, our service is basically better, but also cheaper. So that's got to be a really, really good thing, we think.
Absolutely.
I suppose a second example is that we've been pioneering the use of off-site manufacturing to design a new type of home, specifically targeted at young people in West London. And this is really trying to focus upon that generation of people who are very tech-savvy. We call this home the Launch Pod. We built a prototype in our back garden in our office in Teddington. And I think the key thing to understand about it is that because it's built in a factory using off-site technology, you can build it a lot quicker than traditional housing. It will be affordable for young people, unlike some forms of housing, but also it uses a whole range of technology within the home to improve things like energy efficiency and reduce fuel charges. And the final example I'd pull out really is about the way in which we're experimenting with smart technology in both existing and new build homes. So we've been running a whole range of pilots aimed at trying to help us to manage our assets in the homes better. And fundamentally what we're trying to do is to predict when key components within homes are going to break down before they actually do so. So at the moment, housing works on a model of reacting to things. What we're trying to do is move to a model of predicting when maintenance is required. And in doing so, hopefully provide a better experience for customers, but also a more efficient service for us. Right?
Wow, that's great. That Launchpad sounds really interesting, actually.
Yeah.
So how would you say the technology has helped you overcome the current crisis?
Again, just incredibly helpful because really, for me, the last few months has been all about communication and connecting with people. So I guess, if I had to think about this before it actually happened, the things I'd worry about would be how on earth do you keep an organisation like RHP together when everybody's working apart, really? How do you keep a culture like RHP alive, when you're no longer based in one office together? And what I've found actually is the key to it has been technology. So all the examples I was talking about earlier on about using technology to communicate and to communicate regularly, but in lots of new ways, has been the key to this. And the same applies to our customers, really, because what we found is that the way that customers want to use our service and relate to us has changed and is still changing as a result of the pandemic. fundamentally people are now much more concerned and aware about their own safety and about who comes to their home and who doesn't, and how they use our services. So for me, this is an ideal moment to accelerate the use of things like digital technology to, one, keep people together as an organisation, but secondly also to give customers more choice about how they interact with our service. And as I was talking about earlier on, I think RHP is in a very strong position to do that.
Absolutely. So we understand that kind of you're putting a lot of emphasis at the moment on service design. Could you provide some insight on why this is?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, for us, really, it's about the next phase of innovation. So, we've always been known for innovation at RHP, and we're delighted that we've been recognised through lots of wonderful awards and by topping the sector's Dolphin Index for Innovation for many years. But I think one of the things that we've learned is that innovation is not really about the big shiny ideas, the big shiny projects. It's more about, for us, it's about trying to do the basics really, really brilliantly using new ways of thinking and new technology. So really our aim is to go right back to the starting point and to redesign our core processes from a customer's perspective. And we want to use new technology to make it as easy and as convenient and as enjoyable for them to access our services as possible. So we've started by looking at fundamentals like how do you pay your rent and how do you order repairs. So, although all these things we've been doing for some time, we actually think we can do them a lot better, a lot more efficiently. And we think this is the key to the future, really. One of the ways which we've started to use service design is through developing a new website. So we want to make sure that our site is intuitive and personalised for customers. So, for example, to enable customers to interface on the websites in a much quicker and faster way than they can at the moment, because that's the key really to digital transformation. If your systems and your website work really well and they're not clunky and they're enjoyable to use, people will use them. And if they're not like that, then they'll go back to the phones basically. And we know that's the risk at RHP, is that we've come so far. We've now got to do even better to keep this momentum going, and that's really what this whole service design project's about. And I think one of the key learning points really is that we've recognised the importance of linking people to technology within the organisation. So you can have wonderful, ICT systems, great, online services, but it only works if you've got people in the organisation who are really supporting that technology and that change. And that's why we've set up what we call a Leading Lights group. And Leading Lights group really is all about unpicking core services and core processes to make them better and to make them suitable for technology, really. And we're having such a lot of fun, and it's a lot of enjoyment about doing that, because some of these things are fundamental bread and butter parts of our business, but we're rethinking them, and that just feels great actually. And so that's really what service design for me is about.
Yeah, that Leading Lights initiative sounds really good actually.
Yeah,
so
brilliant.
It's clear that you've managed to create, and you've talked quite a lot about culture, so it's clear that it's really important to you. And in 2016, you were the #1 place to work in the UK for a medium-sized business, which kind of speaks volumes. How have you found embedding an E-first culture across your organisation?
Well, I guess first of all, hugely enjoyable and hugely inspirational, because I think what's happened at RHP is that we've realised that technology is the key to everything really, and if you can put modern technology at the heart of your service, at the heart of your business, and at the same time recruit people who share your passion for great service and using technology to deliver great service, then that opens up a whole world of incredible possibilities. So our vision at RHP for the last 21 years has been the same, and that really is about delivering a brilliant service and being a great employer. And those two things really guide everything for us. So what we knew was that in order to deliver a great service, you've got to deliver a modern service. That means using technology. Deliver a modern service, you've got to employ people who get that, who really understand that, who want to push you more, to give them better technology, to deliver better service. And one of the keys to us at RHP has been to actively recruit people from a whole range of different sectors. So we recruit people from the housing sector, but also lots of people from outside. So we deliberately go and find people who are already using technology to deliver great services in other sectors. And it's not a big sort of change or shift for those people because it's just a sort of no-brainer. And it's amazing how those people will drive more change in the business and ask more of you in terms of use of technology. Alongside that, we've been doing a lot of work around trying to connect people development, learning and development with the use of technology. It comes back to this point about saying, you can't just have great systems, but not great people. You have to have both, really. And so for us, we've been putting a lot of effort and work into, moving a lot of our L&D programs online, thinking about new ways in which we can engage people online. We launched a brand new customer service development program online right in the middle of the lockdown period, which made us smile a bit, really, because it felt like really in some ways a terrible time to be doing it. But actually, has had an amazing result because suddenly people are now learning about delivery of modern services at home remotely, and that's just brilliant, actually, and we've just loved the experience of doing that. And the final thing, I guess, really for us, really about the cultural stuff is we've done a lot of work around thinking about what we can do to persuade our customers to use digital services, because there's a lot of talk in social housing about whether customers are ready to use services online. We absolutely believe they are, but in order to do that, you've got to have two things. One is you've got to have good systems in the first place, otherwise people won't use them. And secondly, you need to have all sorts of techniques in place to persuade people that going online actually is better than using the phone in many circumstances. So we've done a lot of work with our own teams, trying to nudge people, to persuade people to make that shift. So right back in 2012, we used to have digital champions in place, delivering all sorts of training and support for customers. And although there's less of a need for that these days, we still run things like computer clubs within our retirement housing schemes for other people. So yeah, so lots of aspects of this for me around the culture, really, but fundamentally it's about connecting technology with people and having people who really, really want to do a great job by using technology.
Absolutely. So as we've kind of touched upon, 2020 has seen the future of work brought into the present. When the pandemic struck, this large work from home experiment begun, and organisations have seen this kind of decades of pent-up change happen overnight, with office working never really looking the same again, many people are saying. So what do you think the future of the workplace looks like at RHP, and how is tech helping you shape that? I know you've said how important tech is in kind of mobilising this.
Yeah, I mean, I think, fundamentally for us, it's going to look very different from the past. The one thing that we all believe in is that this is the moment. It's a brilliant opportunity to drive more good change in the way that we work at RHP. And we're determined not to go back to the old ways of doing things, even though in some ways that's the easiest thing to do. So fundamentally, for us, it's about building on the work we've started around a program called Your Work, Your Way. And that's really about saying to the people who work for us in our teams, we don't mind where you work, when you work or how you work. All that matters to us is what you produce, your outputs, your outcomes. We're not going to be working in a way which is about hours you work anymore or where you work. We don't mind, actually. We want to give you total freedom and choice to decide what works for you best and how we can get the very best out of you as an individual and for our organisation. So, for example, we've been spending a lot of time thinking about our head office in Teddington, which is a lovely office. It's a beautiful place to work. And we do intend to open it up to more people to work in from the start of September on the basis of choice. So we're saying to everybody, if you want to carry on working at home, you can. That's absolutely fine. If you'd like to spend some time in the office, you can do. We don't mind. In reality, I think lots of people will have a mixture of both, actually. All that matters to us is that, one, we can carry on delivering a good service to our customers, and secondly, we get the very best out of the people that work for us, both as individuals and as an organisation. And as I said, technology allows us to do this now. And I think the really exciting thing is that we saw how use of technology has accelerated over the last 3 to 4 months. Quite obviously, things like video conferencing, in particular, video meetings. Who knows what's around the corner in terms of more and more technology to support this way of working. I saw some amazing technology the other day around having online conferences, which take the idea of video meetings but turn them into a sort of proper conference sort of environment. So I think there's lots more innovation around the corner around technology, and I'm pretty clear that if you've got the right approach to flexible working, then the technology is going to be there to support that.
Yeah, no, it really sounds like you've got that built up, that really good kind of culture of trust in your organization as well, and you're communicating that really effectively. So kind of moving on to kind of digital skills and talent. At London Tech, we've been talking quite a lot about the digital skills gap and how the UK is at risk of creating this lost generation when it comes to equipping these young people with the skills they need for this new future of work. What advice would you give to organisations who are maybe struggling to shift both customers and employees online? And how would you kind of recommend reskilling these workers into the tech that's needed today?
Yes, that's a great question. I think the first thing that I would say is that you have to start with what your customers need and want. Mm. So one of the things that we're doing at RHP actually is, again, going back to basics and just talking directly with our customers to find out what they value most about our service and what they don't value about it. And that's important for two reasons. One is because technology is and has already changed people's expectations around how they relate to organisations, and housing is no different from anybody else. And secondly, because the pandemic has changed people's mindsets about how they want to interact with organisations going forward. And for me, the current situation has created an ideal burning platform for more change, really. So this is a moment to understand that and to grab it. The second thing I'd say really is coming out of those conversations, I think, needs to be lots and lots of conversations with employees and with teams about how we can best meet the needs of our customers going forward. And most people within organisations will recognise that technology has got a fundamental part to play going forward. Now, I meet very few people these days who sort of tell me that digital services, online services, technology doesn't have a part to play in service delivery. I'd be very, very surprised if you had those conversations with the people you work with, that would be the case. So having lots of open discussion and debate about that within organisations is really important. And I think the third thing for me really is set out a plan. As senior people, set out a vision and a plan for how you want to deliver services going forward. And if you've listened to your customers, digital and technology is going to be at the heart of that. And I think the piece of advice I'd give everybody is be big and bold about that, because we started back in probably 2012, 13, when technology wasn't particularly well advanced, really. And the only thing I regret looking back on those years is that we didn't move fast enough, really. We should have just been braver and actually made changes quicker. We were too tentative initially. And I'd say at the moment, we're in a brilliant situation whereby the technology is now in place to do things differently. What it really requires is our senior leaders to listen to customers, listen to employees, and be really big and bold about their vision going forward. You asked me a second question, which I've now forgotten actually. What was the second question you asked
It
me?
was kind of touching upon how you recommend really reskilling these workers into the appropriate tech of today.
I think it's two things for me. One is in our experience, there's hardly anybody in our organisation who isn't willing to learn and change. Actually, and for me, it's about giving people the right support through L&D type programs, through visiting other organisations, through showing people what's possible. That is really, really important. So people learn in different ways, but fundamentally, I think most people can change the skills they've got and will actually develop if you give them the right sort of support. So a good example for us is that when we started to provide web chat, online chat for customers, we thought that all you had to do is move people from the customer service centre who were taking the phone calls, put them onto web chat, and it would be fine. It'd be the same sort of set of skills. We learned pretty quick actually that wasn't the case. Handling sort of 6 or 7 web chats at the same time, using a keyboard is very different from talking to somebody on the phone actually. So we had to go back to basics again and train people and show people how you could do that. And I think the second big thing for me, as I touched on earlier on, really is bring people into your business who have already got these skills. The world is full of young people in particular, where technology and digital is nothing new. It's just part of how they've grown up actually. And I would say, bring people into your business who just get it basically, and those people will spread their knowledge and their understanding to other people very quickly. Really.
Yeah, no, that's really interesting. So just to finish off, do you have any predictions to share about kind of your industry's performance in a post-pandemic world? Any wishes? Any predictions?
I love the housing sector. I think it's full of brilliant people who want to do good things actually, and that's got to be a good starting point for good change, isn't it? Really. So I'm full of hope and optimism about what we can do. I've heard so many other chief executives and other senior leaders talk about change, and that has really, really impressed me and inspired me in terms of seeing that there are other organisations out there who are going to grab this opportunity now to make things better, both for customers and for employees. And as I mentioned earlier on, I think the most exciting thing about the current situation is that the technology is now there, it's in place, and it's developing so fast that all we've now got to do is create organisations which can make the most of it, really. And I believe that this is a brilliant moment for our whole sector to grab that opportunity and to reinvent itself. And we've got a great starting point, and there's some great examples out there of what people are doing. And I think the future for me, certainly at RHP, is not doing this alone. So I think the history of IT and technology in housing associations has been very much about people developing their own systems, doing their own thing really. And I think that has changed now. So I think what we're looking to do really is to work with other people, other like-minded people, to share learning, to share knowledge, to try new things out, to experiment with other people, but also I think to invest jointly in building new systems and making use of new technology going forward. So, our big hope at RHP is to be a brilliant partner. We want to be one of those people that people just want to love working with. And that really means being a really open organisation which is willing to share knowledge and information and learning with other people on the basis that if you do that, other people will do the same actually. So I think the future is incredibly optimistic and positive for our sector. But I think the key to it is to work together. It's not to try and do this alone.
Yeah, no, we've absolutely been speaking about that last week, actually, that theme of kind of collaboration, triumphing competition when you're all trying to meet the same goal. So that's really interesting that you bring it up. But thank you so much for joining us today, David. It's been great to talk to you. And I'm really looking forward to seeing the big and bold moves at RHP in the years to come.
Thanks ever so much. I've really enjoyed talking to you.
Thank you.